The transport shuttle rattled like it had been held together by hope, duct tape, and three questionable engineering decisions. Daniel Voss gripped the armrest and reminded himself, for the fifth time in the last minute, that he had not chosen this assignment so much as wandered into it by accident. 3 weeks ago, he had been a maintenance apprentice on orbital station Ilya, repairing filtration pumps and occasionally negotiating with vending machines that liked to eat his credits. Now he was part of a diplomatic escort to the homeworld of the Elyndari Dominion, one of the most advanced and inscrutable civilizations known to humankind. He still wasn't sure how that happened. "Voss," Lieutenant Myra grumbled beside him, "you look like someone who's about to confess to a murder." "I might," Daniel muttered, "if these stabilizers drop again." "They won't drop," she said, "probably." Daniel closed his eyes and focused on breathing. The Elyndari were famous for their impossible architecture, breathtaking bioluminescent cities, and their queen, a woman so powerful that diplomats spoke her name with the same reverence some people reserved for supernovas. Daniel, a man whose proudest moment last year had been fixing a coffee dispenser without electrocuting himself, had absolutely no reason to be anywhere near royalty. Yet here he was. The shuttle broke through the clouds, revealing Luminara, the Elyndari capital, spread across the horizon like a dream painted in silver-blue light. Towers of translucent crystal curved upward, bending as if sculpted by the wind. Threads of luminous energy ran between them, pulsing like veins in a living organism. Daniel's breath caught. "Wow," he whispered. It felt like the city was humming, soft, melodic, ancient. And as they descended, his nervousness shifted into awe. When they landed, the delegation organized themselves into what Ambassador Hale called an eminently respectable formation. Daniel suspected it mostly meant, put the important people in front and hide the maintenance guy in the back where he can't break anything. He obeyed. The palace doors opened with a cascade of shimmering light, and she entered. Queen Aeryn Leora of the Elyndari Dominion moved like starlight given human shape, tall, radiant, impossibly graceful. Her skin shimmered faintly with a soft, iridescent glow, and her long, dark hair fell like liquid night around her shoulders. Her eyes, luminous emerald with flecks of gold, seemed to contain entire constellations of thought. But it was her presence that struck him the hardest, poised, powerful, yet carrying a quiet loneliness beneath the surface, like a song held for too long. Daniel forgot how to breathe. "Steady, Voss," Mara hissed. "I'm steady," he whispered, swaying slightly. "So steady I might collapse." The Queen's gaze drifted across the human delegation, evaluating, measuring, deciphering. Ambassador Hale bowed. "Your Majesty, we are honored." Her eyes stopped, on Daniel, directly on him. He blinked, looked behind him, then to his side, then back at her. Nope. She was absolutely looking at him. Her expression shifted into something strange, curiosity softening into a kind of quiet recognition, as if she had just discovered something unexpected, something she had not realized she was seeking. She raised a hand, pointing with elegant, deliberate certainty. "That human," she said, "bring him to me." The chamber froze. Daniel's pulse tried to escape through his ribs. "Him," Ambassador Hale sputtered. "Your Majesty, surely there is." "That one," she repeated, "the one whose thoughts echo so loudly I could hear them before he entered the palace." Daniel made a small noise that might have been a word, or might have been a dying appliance. Two Elyndari guards stepped forward. "Oh no," he whispered. "Oh no, 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 there's been a mistake. I'm the maintenance apprentice. I fix air filters I am profoundly unqualified for." Queen Aeryn's eyes softened. "You are precisely what I require." Daniel wasn't sure how he ended up walking alone beside an alien queen through a corridor that looked like it had been carved out of moonlight. The crystalline walls pulsed gently, responding to the emotional resonance of those inside, or so the cultural briefing had claimed. If that was true, then the corridor was currently glowing an anxious shade of blue that Daniel suspected was his fault entirely. Queen Aeryn walked in silence, hands clasped behind her back, posture perfect, expression unreadable. Daniel followed several steps behind, convinced that if he breathed too loudly, he might accidentally trigger an interstellar conflict. After an impossibly long moment, she spoke. "You are troubled." His brain briefly shut down from panic. "Your Majesty, with all due respect, I think troubled is a mild understatement for what's happening inside my nervous system right now." She slowed her steps, glancing over her shoulder. "You fear I have taken you for punishment." "No, well, maybe, I don't know." He rubbed the back of his neck. Ambassadors train for decades for this kind of thing. I fix coolant leaks and sometimes talk to machines like they're my friends. I'm not diplomatic material. Aeryn turned fully to face him, the glow of the corridor softening around her like a living halo. Tell me, she said, why would I desire someone who performs diplomacy? He blinked. Because it's diplomacy. Our delegation has spoken with thousands like them. They tell us what they rehearsed. They hide their meaning behind carefully woven phrases. You, her eyes narrowed slightly, curious, do not. Daniel wasn't sure whether to feel flattered or insulted. It's not intentional. I just don't have enough brain space to maintain lies and thoughts simultaneously. Her lips curved, just a hint, into something that resembled amusement. That is precisely why you interest me. Daniel felt his face heat. Your Majesty, surely there are wiser, more useful humans too. Wisdom, she interrupted, is not what my people lack. Her tone shifted, quiet, fragile, carrying something he couldn't quite decipher. They reached a circular chamber that opened to a garden illuminated by bioluminescent flora. Trees with crystal leaves chimed softly as a warm breeze moved through them. Flowers glowed in spirals of violet and gold. A quiet river wound through the garden, glowing faintly with soft cerulean light. Daniel forgot to panic for a moment. It's beautiful, he breathed. Aeryn stepped beside him, her eyes briefly softening as she took in his expression. This garden is older than our written history. It is a place where truths tend to reveal themselves. Is that supposed to be reassuring? No, she gestured toward a stone bench that glowed faintly when she approached. Daniel sat awkwardly, trying to figure out where to put his hands. After a moment, she sat beside him, close enough that he could feel a subtle warmth radiating from her skin. Not heat, something softer, like a presence. Daniel Voss, she said, testing his name with melodic precision. Do you know why your thoughts echoed to me before you entered the palace? No, he said honestly, but I'm terrified to learn. Her gaze drifted to the glowing river. Elyndari perception is not purely sensory. We resonate with intention, emotion, the subtle currents of sentient minds. Most beings approach us with calculated thoughts. You approached with, she paused, searching for the word, rawness. Daniel winced, sorry. Do not apologize, it is refreshing. Her voice dipped lower, softer, and confusing. That caught his attention. Confusing, you. She tilted her head slightly, emerald eyes shimmering with something vulnerable. Long ago, our people learned to silence imperfection, to minimize unpredictability, to isolate emotion. It made us powerful but hollow. She turned to him, and for the first time since he'd met her, he saw real uncertainty in her face. When you entered the throne room, your mind held no walls, no masks. Only a storm of honest fear, awe, worry, wonder. She blinked, almost startled. It was loud and strangely beautiful. Daniel's heart thumped loudly enough that he was certain the garden could hear it. So you picked me because I was terrified. And unfiltered. Her voice softened. You did not see a queen, you saw a woman standing in front of you. You looked at me as though I were human. He realized he hadn't meant to. But he had, she breathed in slowly as if steadying herself. It has been centuries since anyone looked at me that way. Daniel swallowed. Your Majesty, I didn't mean to overstep. You did not. Her eyes held his, unwavering. You fascinated me. He opened his mouth, then closed it, then opened it again, achieving the conversational grace of a malfunctioning toaster. Thank you, he managed. Aeryn studied him a moment longer. Then with careful deliberation, she said, You will remain in the palace as my chosen liaison. Your presence will be instructive. Is instructive a polite word for chaotic? Yes, she said without hesitation. Daniel nodded. Fair enough. The queen rose elegantly. A room has been prepared for you. Tomorrow I will introduce you to the High Council. They will not understand my choice. That is expected. He winced. Is there anything I should do to avoid offending them? No, she paused. In fact, if you attempt to behave like a diplomat, you will likely offend them more. Daniel stared. So be myself. Yes, she said, precisely. He stood, unsure what to do with his limbs. She stepped closer, so close he could see the flecks of gold shifting like stars in her eyes. One more thing, Daniel Voss. His breath caught, yes. Aeryn's voice dropped to a quiet, intimate note. If your mind grows loud again, do not silence it. I find I prefer the sound. He was 90% sure he forgot how to exist. The queen turned and walked away, bioluminescent light trailing along her silhouette like a comet's tail. Daniel stood in the luminous garden, heart racing, mind roaring, and only one. Daniel's assigned living quarters were larger than his entire childhood apartment, and possibly larger than the entire building his childhood apartment had been in. The walls shifted in shades of soft azure and pale gold as he walked inside, glowing in gentle response to his emotional state. Considering his emotional state was currently overwhelmed human experiencing an existential short circuit. The room glowed like a sunrise, trying its best to be supportive. He sat on the edge of the bed, which responded by reshaping itself slightly to balance his weight. A soft chime sounded, one that his translator identified as adaptive comfort calibration complete. Great, Daniel muttered. Even the furniture is smarter than me. He fell backward onto the bed, staring up at the ceiling, which displayed a slowly shifting constellation of lights. At first he assumed it was purely decorative, until one of the stars twitched slightly out of alignment, mirroring his breathing. The room apparently was watching him breathe. The Elyndari were either the most comforting species in the galaxy or the most terrifying, probably both. He groaned into a pillow. Why me? Why did she pick me? Why? The ceiling shifted into a swirl of shimmering light, which his translator labeled. Calming pattern initiated. Oh no, don't you start mothering me, he said, pointing at the ceiling. I am barely holding myself together as it is. I'm not emotionally prepared to be soothed by architectural features. The ceiling dimmed almost apologetically. He sighed. Yeah, all right, that's fair. Sorry, I'm new here. As he got up to explore the space, a soft chime echoed near the doorway. A delicate panel of light unfolded, revealing a woman taller than him by at least a head, with pale lavender skin and a stern expression that suggested her patience had been surgically removed for efficiency. I am Lysa, she said crisply. The Queen's first attendant. I am to oversee your integration into palace operations. Oh, Daniel said, great, that sounds terrifying. Her eyebrow arched. I have reviewed your file, human. Terrifying is mild compared to what I anticipated. Fantastic, Daniel muttered. We're off to a great start. She did not acknowledge the sarcasm. Instead, she handed him a bracelet made of thin, shimmering strands that interwove like light trapped in metal. This is a cognitive attunement band. It allows the palace to interpret your needs more efficiently. Wear it. He took the bracelet gingerly. Does it, read minds? No, she said. It reads emotional signatures. Oh, good, Daniel said. So it won't hear my thoughts, just my panic, confusion, and frequent internal screaming. Yes, he blinked at her. You know, where I come from, that would be considered a joke. I am aware, she said flatly. He put on the bracelet and it tightened slightly, cool, not uncomfortable, more like settling into place. A faint pulse of light ran along its surface. Your integration begins tomorrow, Lysa said. You will accompany the Queen to a meeting with the High Council. Daniel straightened. Is there anything I should know for? Yes, she stepped closer, lowering her voice. They will not understand why the Queen chose you. They will question you. They may try to provoke you. Should this occur, she paused. Remain as you are. That's the plan, Daniel said. I'm very consistent in my lack of consistency. This, Lysa said, is precisely what concerns them. After she left, Daniel paced the room, every step amplifying his nerves. Eventually, he sat down again and let the silence settle. He replayed everything that had happened. The throne room, the Queen's eyes, the garden, the way she said your mind grows loud with that soft, curious tone. He had never been noticed by someone like her before, someone who seemed carved of starlight and patience and impossible elegance. Someone who felt like an entire world wrapped in a single gaze. He didn't know what she wanted from him, and he didn't know what he wanted from her. The thought that frightened him most was that he might, just might, want to understand her more than he feared failing her. The lights dimmed gently, as if encouraging him to rest. Okay, he whispered to himself. Just be yourself, be genuine, be whatever it is she thinks I am. He lay back and let exhaustion drag him under. He dreamed of glowing gardens, soft laughter like chimes in the wind, and emerald eyes filled with worlds he did not yet understand. The next morning, Lysa didn't knock, because Elyndari doors apparently recognized when a person was awake. The panel slid open, revealing her standing there with the solemnity of someone about to deliver a speech on civic responsibility. You must eat, she said. That sounds like an order. It is. She led him to a small alcove where plates of shifting, softly glowing food awaited him. He hesitated. It's not sentient, right? Not anymore. Daniel choked on his own breath. Not anymore. Lysa sighed. Human humor is exhausting. He stared at the food, unsure if she was serious. Eventually, hunger won, and he took a cautious bite. To his surprise, it tasted like citrus, mint, and something bright he couldn't name. His whole body warmed. "It's good," he said around another bite. "Wow, really good. It is formulated to optimize cognitive clarity." "Oh," Daniel said, "you're trying to make me smarter." "That may be beyond our abilities," Lysa said, "but perhaps less chaotic." He swallowed, rude but fair. When they reached the council hall, Daniel's nerves returned with a vengeance. The chamber was enormous, lined with columns of glowing stone and towering windows that opened to the floating gardens below. The air hummed with the presence of ancient minds, and at the center stood Queen Aeryn. She turned at their approach, and the room's light seemed to bend toward her. "Daniel," she said, and there was a softness in her voice that hadn't been there before. "Walk with me." He stepped beside her, heart pounding. As they approached the High Council, a ripple of curious energy ran through the chamber. One counselor whispered to another. Daniel's translator caught only fragments. "A human child. No training. Reckless choice. Unpredictable." He swallowed hard. Aeryn leaned slightly toward him, her words barely above a whisper. "Do not fear them." "I don't fear them," he whispered back. "I fear the potential disaster that is me." "Your honesty," she murmured, "is the reason you are here." The council doors opened. Aeryn stepped forward. Daniel followed. The High Council chamber felt less like a room and more like the interior of a celestial organism. The walls curved upward in sweeping arcs of translucent stone, glowing with slow, steady heartbeats of pale lavender light. Suspended platforms floated like petals over a pool of shimmering energy in the center, and every surface hummed faintly with age, authority, and expectation. Daniel felt like a stain on an otherwise pristine work of art. Queen Aeryn led him forward with quiet confidence, her stride smooth and deliberate. Meanwhile, he was taking microscopic steps, hyper-aware of every possible way he could accidentally commit treason by existing too loudly. 12 Elyndari counselors stood arranged in a crescent around the central platform. Their robes shifted in patterns that resembled living constellations. Their faces were calm, unreadable, ancient. Daniel's lungs forgot their job. Aeryn glanced down at him, her expression softening almost imperceptibly. "You are safe here," she murmured. "Your definition of safe and mine differ significantly," he whispered back. Aeryn's lips curved in the faintest smile. Counselor Sarath, the eldest looking among them, took a single step forward. Her voice carried the weight of centuries. "Your Majesty, we greet you and acknowledge your presence." Aeryn inclined her head respectfully. "The greeting is shared." Then Sarath's pale eyes turned toward Daniel. "And this," she said delicately, "is the human you have chosen." Suddenly 12 pairs of ancient eyes were on him. Daniel felt like a bug pinned to a specimen board. Aeryn straightened. "This is Daniel Voss. He will serve as my cultural liaison." A ripple of disapproval moved through the room, soft but palpable. The light in the chamber dimmed by a fraction, as if the palace itself also had concerns. Counselor Vales stepped forward next, her presence sharp as cut crystal. "Majesty, we trust your judgment, but this choice is without precedent." Aeryn's expression remained serene. "That is correct." "It is also," Vales continued, "irrational." Daniel winced. "Okay, fair point." Aeryn shot him a glance, gentle but commanding. Daniel's mouth snapped shut. Counselor Vales folded her hands. "This human lacks training, lacks refinement, lacks any understanding of our culture. He is unshaped." Daniel lifted a finger nervously. Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. Just want to note that I do, in fact, have some understanding. For example, I now know that not all of your food is sentient, which was a revelation." Several counselors blinked at him. One coughed in what might have been a stifled laugh. Aeryn's expression flickered, something warm, something proud. But Vales was not amused. This unpredictability is precisely the concern. Daniel leaned toward Aeryn. "Should I stop talking?" "Yes," she whispered softly, "until I tell you otherwise." "Okay, stopping now." Aeryn stepped forward, standing between Daniel and the council, tall and luminous and utterly sure of her place in the universe. "You fear what is unfamiliar," she said calmly. "You see only what he lacks. I see what he possesses." Counselor Sarath lifted a brow. "And what does he possess, Majesty?" Aeryn's eyes turned to Daniel, softening again in that way that made his chest feel too small. "Clarity," she said. Daniel nearly choked. "Majesty," Vales objected, The human is. Most beings wrap their intentions in layers of performance, Aeryn continued unfazed. He does not. His thoughts move as they are, untamed, sincere, audible. She paused, refreshing. The room shifted, light brightening faintly, as though the palace agreed. Counselor Reneth stepped forward, curious rather than hostile. "Human Daniel," he said, "what is your purpose here?" Daniel swallowed hard. To, not accidentally ruin everything. A murmur passed through the council. Reneth tilted his head, honest. Daniel nodded miserably, painfully. Aeryn's voice softened. "He is here because I chose him, that is enough." Sarath hesitated. "Majesty, we do not question your authority, but the Dominion stands at the precipice of change. Such a choice, someone so untrained, could alter the path ahead." Aeryn stepped closer to Daniel, her presence brushing against him like warm starlight. "That is exactly why he is needed." Silence settled over the chamber. For a moment, Daniel wondered if he should bow, or speak again, or simply evaporate into mist to prevent future embarrassment. But then, unexpectedly, Sarath's expression softened. "Very well," the elder counselor said. "We accept your liaison, Majesty. For now, we will observe." Daniel exhaled so hard he nearly fell over. Aeryn inclined her head gently. "I thank the council for its willingness." As they turned to leave, Daniel whispered, "I think I survived." "You did," Aeryn murmured. "That was terrifying." "You did well." I said like 12 stupid things. Her voice lowered, only for him. "Yes," she said, "and every one of them was genuine." He didn't know what to do with the warmth those words put in his chest. They walked through the palace gardens afterward, the glowing flora shifting in color as they passed. Daniel rubbed his face with both hands. "I think Counselor Vales wants to vaporize me." "Vales wishes to vaporize everyone," Aeryn said calmly. "It is how she expresses affection." "That's horrifying." Aeryn's lips curved in amusement. "You handled yourself better than you believe." He kicked a pebble that wasn't actually a pebble. It drifted into the air, glowing faintly. "I feel like a walking disaster." "Yes," she said softly, "but you are an honest disaster." He looked at her. She was watching him with that look again. The one that made him feel seen. The one that made him feel chosen. Not as a symbol, not as an experiment, but as a person. "Aeryn," he said before he could stop himself, "why do you really want me here, beyond all the philosophical stuff?" She paused beside a tree whose branches shimmered like falling stars. "Because," she said quietly, "when you look at me, you do not see what others see." "What do they see?" "Power," she whispered, "perfection, distance." "And what do I see?" Her eyes met his, steady, searching, vulnerable. "You see someone who is trying," she said. Suddenly he couldn't breathe, but in a way that felt strange and warm and terrifying all at once. "Aeryn," he began, unsure what he meant to say. But she stepped closer, close enough that the soft glow of her skin brushed the air between them. "Do not silence your thoughts, Daniel," she murmured. "Let them be loud." His heart thundered. Daniel woke to soft sunlight that wasn't sunlight at all, more like a warm, shimmering glow that filtered through the crystalline walls. Elyndari mornings didn't feel like mornings. They felt like being gently coaxed out of sleep by an entire planet that was politely asking if he would like to join consciousness today. He wasn't sure he appreciated the courtesy. The bracelet on his wrist pulsed once. A subtle reminder that the palace had already registered he was awake. He groaned. "Please stop monitoring my circadian shame," he muttered. The bracelet pulsed twice, which could have meant anything from apology to confusion to not our problem. He dressed and stepped into the corridor, which immediately brightened at his presence. The palace walls responded to emotion, his specifically, much too often. Today's palette, a nervous gradient of pale gold leaking into anxious turquoise. As he walked, he whispered to the walls, "I'm trying my best, okay?" The corridor's coloring warmed slightly, so at least somebody believed him. He reached the garden where Queen Aeryn had asked to meet. The bioluminescent plants shimmered in soft spirals, glowing gently in the early light. Petals drifted through the air in slow, deliberate patterns, moving as if weightless. Aeryn stood near the glowing river, her reflection bending across the surface like fractured starlight. When she turned to him, the world brightened, not visually, but in a way that lived just behind his ribs. "Good morning, Daniel." Her voice was gentle, melodic, warmer than the light in the room. "Good morning," he replied. "Or whatever your people consider morning. It's kind of timeless here. Honestly, I don't know what time is anymore." Aeryn's lips curved. "Time is what you decide it is." That's terrifying, but also liberating. Much like you, she said. He blinked. How, what does that even mean? She gestured for him to walk with her along the river's edge. The path glowed under their steps, each footprint leaving a brief, shimmering imprint before fading. Yesterday, Aeryn said, you revealed something to the council that they have not seen in a generation. What? My crippling self-doubt. Humor. Daniel blinked. That was humor. Unintentionally, she said, which is the purest form. He rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed. So humor is now my diplomatic skill. Perhaps your primary one. He opened his mouth to protest, but Aeryn stopped, turning to face him. Her expression had softened, no, opened, like a door he had not known was closed. There is something I must tell you, she said. His heart jumped. Okay, should I sit down first? No, she stepped closer. Daniel felt the air change, charged, warm, pulsing faintly between them like a low note in a song he did not yet know the words to. Elyndari minds are rarely drawn toward others, Aeryn said quietly. We live long, we learn caution, we guard ourselves with patience and distance, but you. Her eyes reflected the glowing river. You carry your thoughts openly, loudly. They move as wind through leaves, and they touched mine. Daniel's breath caught. You said that before, he whispered, that my thoughts echoed. They did, she said, still do. He swallowed, his heart was a runaway machine. Is that good? Or is it like I'm a walking psychic hazard? Aeryn almost laughed, not quite, but something bright flickered in her gaze. It is rare, she said, confusing, beautiful, and dangerous. Dangerous, Daniel's voice cracked. For who? For me. That stopped him cold, he stared. Aeryn watched him without armor, without the regal stillness she wore in the throne room. She looked human somehow, vulnerable. Aeryn, he whispered, why dangerous? Because, she said, stepping close enough that he could feel the faint warmth radiating from her skin. I am not accustomed to being seen, truly seen. I'm not doing anything, he said quietly. That is precisely what makes it powerful. Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't know how to respond, didn't know how to handle something so fragile when he'd spent his entire life handling things he could fix with tools. Aeryn looked down, as if embarrassed by her own honesty. When I selected you, I did not know why, only that your mind struck mine like a spark, bright, untamed, calling. Calling, he echoed faintly, like on purpose. No, she lifted her gaze to his again, and it felt like being pinned by starlight. Not intentional, but real. The glowing river flowed between them like a quiet pulse. Daniel took a slow breath, his hands trembled. But for once his mind wasn't chaotic, it wasn't loud, it was quiet. Can I ask something? He said softly. Yes. Why are you telling me all this now? Her expression shifted, delicately, as if revealing the slightest crack in the armor of an entire civilization. Because you deserve truth, she whispered. And because this connection, whatever it is, will not vanish simply because we ignore it. Daniel's heart hammered. You feel it too. I do. The breath left his lungs in a single, disbelieving exhale. Aeryn, but before the moment could shatter into something they weren't ready for, the garden lights shifted. A signal. A soft note hummed through the air, resonant and urgent. Aeryn straightened, her guard returning with practiced ease. The council requests immediate assembly, she said. Something has changed. Daniel blinked. Changed how? Enough, she said, that they wish to question you again. Oh no, did I do something? Did I break a law by breathing wrong? Did. Aeryn placed a hand gently, not firmly, but gently against his arm. Daniel, she said softly, whatever comes next, you will not face it alone. The warmth of her touch traveled through him like a wave, grounding. The council hall felt heavier this time. Not darker, not colder, just weightier. As if the air itself understood that whatever was about to happen mattered in ways neither Daniel nor the queen could fully predict. Aeryn walked beside him in silence, her posture regal, every movement precise, but Daniel could sense the tension beneath her serenity. Her fingers twitched once at her side, subtle enough that any Elyndari might have missed it. But Daniel noticed. Are you all right? He whispered. Aeryn did not look at him, but her voice softened. I am prepared. That's not what I asked. A breath quiet, almost human, left her. No, she admitted. He wanted to take her hand right then, but the 12 counselors stood waiting. Their robes shimmered with shifting constellations, and their eyes glowed like watchful stars. Counselor Vales stepped forward first, her voice sharp enough to carve stone. Majesty, human, you stand here because of a matter requiring clarity. Daniel winced. Whenever someone says clarity, it means they're about to tell me I ruined something. Valles regarded him with cool disdain. Indeed. Great, he muttered under his breath. Fantastic, love this journey for me. A few counselors exchanged glances, some irritated, some amused. Aeryn, however, remained unreadable. Counselor Seraith raised a hand. Your Majesty, we have sensed a shift, subtle yet undeniable. Your emotional resonance has altered. Aeryn's jaw tightened. Explain. Valles spoke again. For 3 centuries, your aura has been constant, controlled. Recently, however, there has been disturbance. Daniel stiffened. Disturbance, like bad disturbance or small cosmic sneeze disturbance. Emotional disturbance, Valles clarified. An Elyndari queen does not resonate without cause. The council's collective gaze shifted to Daniel, accusing, uncertain, curious. Oh no, he thought, oh very much no. Seraith's voice was gentle but unyielding. It has been long since you allowed anything to touch you, Majesty, and now your resonance changes each time you are near this human. Daniel's heart plummeted. Aeryn said nothing. Her silence spoke of things she was not yet ready to admit. Valles continued, we must determine the nature of this bond, whether it endangers the Dominion. Daniel's voice cracked. Bond, what bond? I haven't bonded with anyone, unless you count emotionally crying at a vending machine once, but that was college and doesn't count. Daniel, Aeryn whispered, a single word, but it quieted him instantly. She stepped forward. If you believe I am compromised, say so plainly. We do not claim compromise, Seraith said. Only influence. Influence, the word hit Daniel like a falling star. He turned to Aeryn. Is that true? Am I influencing you? Aeryn held his gaze, no walls, no distance, no throne between them. Yes, she said softly. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Daniel felt his world tilt. Aeryn, I didn't mean to. You did nothing wrong, she said. But I wasn't trying to. I know. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed something deep, vulnerable. Then what does this mean? Daniel whispered, barely breathing. Aeryn's gaze softened, shimmering with emotions he did not yet have the language to name. It means you are no longer simply a guest. Valles stepped between them, breaking the moment. Majesty, you must understand. A queen's emotional alignment affects the entire Dominion. If your resonance shifts unpredictably, then perhaps unpredictability is required, Aeryn said. Shock rippled through the council. Daniel blinked. Wait, are you defending me again? Of course, she said. But your reputation, your political standing. My standing is irrelevant. Her eyes held his. You are not. Daniel's breath stuttered. The room fell into tense, waiting silence. Finally, Seraith spoke again. Majesty, if this is truly your decision, then we must formalize it. Formalize what? Daniel asked nervously. The designation, Seraith said. If the queen chooses a being whose presence affects her resonance, that individual must be acknowledged. Acknowledged how? Daniel whispered. Aeryn hesitated just a fraction. Then she stepped closer to him, closer than she had ever dared in front of others, her voice lowered, soft, and intimate despite the council's presence. By naming you, she said, as my chosen. Daniel froze, chosen, not liaison, not curiosity, not experiment, chosen. What does that mean? He asked, breathless. It means, Aeryn said gently, that your presence is recognized as part of my life, my path, and my heart's alignment. Daniel stared, everything inside him went quiet, completely, perfectly quiet. Aeryn, he whispered, you don't have to do that for me. I am not doing it for you, she replied. I am doing it because it is true. His eyes burned. Are you sure? Because I'm just human, she said firmly. Fallible, loud, chaotic, a pause, and honest. And kind, and unmasked in a way my people have forgotten how to be. He swallowed hard. But your council, your people. They will adapt, she said, as I have. Valles stepped forward, clearly agitated. Majesty, this decision will have consequences. Aeryn did not look away from Daniel. All meaningful choices do. Daniel exhaled shakily. If I accept, what happens? Seraith answered softly. You will remain here, not as prisoner, not as ambassador, but as one the queen has bound her resonance to. Daniel blinked, bound like symbolically or like soul Wi-Fi. Both, Seraith said. Daniel nearly fainted. Aeryn stepped close, so close he could feel the warmth of her breath. Daniel Voss, will you remain? Not for duty, not for politics, but because something between us has begun and I would see where it leads. He wanted to run. He wanted to stay. He wanted to laugh, cry, scream, and collapse all at once. But when he looked into her eyes, those ancient, aching, luminous eyes, he knew the answer before he even realized he'd spoken. Yes, he whispered. I'll stay. Aeryn's expression softened in a way he had never seen before, like dawn breaking after centuries of dusk. The council chamber brightened, reflecting the shift in her emotional resonance. Gentle gold light spread across the stone. She reached for him not boldly, not possessively, but with quiet, intentional grace. Her fingers brushed his. A resonance, warm, electric, impossibly gentle, passed between them. Something old, something new, something beautiful. The palace lights pulsed softly, as if acknowledging the bond. Daniel swallowed. What happens now? Aeryn's voice was a whisper only he could hear. Now, she said, you walk beside me not as accident, not as curiosity, but as chosen. He squeezed her hand, carefully, reverently. I think the universe might be crazier than either of us assumed. Aeryn's eyes shimmered with a rare, quiet joy. Yes, she murmured. But sometimes, Daniel, the most beautiful things arrive through chaos. And as they stood together, human and queen, chaotic and perfect, bound by